Welcome to MarTech Heads, the radio show that helps tech marketers stay ahead of the game. Hosted by Jeff Sheehan and Sarah Torville.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff Sheehan along with Sarah Torville of Media Frenzy Global. And we've had a great afternoon. Actually, the whole day has been fantastic here at Flip My Funnel Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. I had some phenomenal guests, and we have another one on the in the studio right now, as a matter of fact. Jeffrey Rohrs with Yext. He's the CMO, an author. He has written a book called Audience, Marketing in the Age of Subscribers, Fans, and Followers. So without further ado, Jeffrey, you want to tell Sarah and I a little bit about yourself and what you're up to, what you're really passionate about and what have you, and how this conference has really benefited you as far as the overall Flip My Funnel, the strategy, and everything.
Sure. So I actually just joined Yext as their Chief Marketing Officer a little over 6 weeks ago as we sit here today recording. And prior to that, I was Vice President of Marketing Insights for Salesforce by way of their acquisition of ExactTarget. So I'd been with that entity going back 8 years. So this was a really interesting change for me, going back to being far more strategic, tactical, owning and building a marketing team, because I've inherited a very young, talented team at Yext. And now, as the company looks to grow globally and also expand product lines, we're looking at how do we better serve and create opportunities for our enterprise sales and partners. So one of the reasons we signed up to sponsor and were anxious to get here wasn't just to get our brand out there, but also to get our team here, because we are firm believers in the idea of account-based marketing. Our core product, Power Listings, has a pretty clear target market because it's geared towards companies that have a physical presence, stores, locations, so think retail, finance, franchise, anybody that consumers are going to walk in. And so when you think of the available folks who have 25 locations and greater in the US, that's a defined set of companies. So account-based marketing works very well there because you know who you'd like to work with and you can build out your program from there. It doesn't have to be broad-based mass marketing. So it was exciting when Sangram, who's a CMO of Terminus, told me about this event. He and I had worked briefly together. He had been CMO of Pardot. ExactTarget had acquired Pardot, so we were on the same marketing core team. And so when he told me about the event, it was a nice opportunity to both support a friend and former colleague and also bring our team to the table to see what the entire kind of ecosystem around account-based marketing is about.
So tell me about Yext.
Yeah. So Yext is really...
So is it Yext or Yext?
Yext. Y-E-X-T.
Y-E-X-T, I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yext
is the greatest marketing company you haven't heard of, unless you're in search marketing or if you are in kind of the New York tech scene, because Yext is known in those circles because our core product is something called Power Listings. And all of our products are really about helping companies harness the power of location. In this day and age, you think about your mobile device and how dependent it is on accurate location information. And then if I were to tell you that about 85% of business listings that are online, maps, apps, directories, search engines, social networks, GPS systems, 85% of business listings have something wrong with them.
Correct.
Name, address, phone number, some attribute. And the reason is that all of those publisher providers that I named, maps, apps, directories, search engines, are dependent on third-party data for what they serve up. And then they use algorithms to try and determine what is the best source of the data. What our founders did, Howard Lerman and Brian Distelberger, about 4 or 5 years back, had the epiphany that said, well, wait a second, what if we built direct relationships and it was more of a subscription model where you could control that data, and we would then build proprietary, real-time, in many instances, feeds into a partner network. And so here we are 4 or 5 years from that idea with a partner network, a publisher network rather, of over 100 different publishers: Apple Maps, Yahoo, Bing, Facebook, Yelp, Foursquare. And what our customers do is they subscribe in order to push their location information, control all of that at scale. So you think of large franchises that have thousands of locations. They can't be in a situation where they have to manually submit it all the time to all these players. We give them the ability to do that at scale. That's kind of the core product. We then have a couple of other product lines. One is around our Pages product, so the ability to increase visibility and own more shelf space within local search. So if you do a search, for instance, on a Macy's, you'll often see pages come up that we host, and those are targeted both by location and some keywords, and it gives them the ability to kind of merchandise that page the way that they want to. And then we have a big product launch coming up at the end of September where we're going to be helping our customers tap the power of beacon technology in physical stores. So with Power Listings and Pages, we've been driving the online audience to the offline doorstep of brick and mortar retailers and other service companies, insurance, financial services. Now what we're doing is, with beacon technology, going to enable our customers to capture that mobile audience when they come in the door, serve them up unique tips, calls to action in store, and then also have the ability to remarket to them out of store. So think of it as really kind of a pixel for the real world. So you think about retargeting you do on your website with cookie-based or other types of retargeting. We're now going to allow that in the physical world. So everything we do comes down to location, and in a mobile world, that's really part of the operating system.
So you'll serve up coupons as well? Or?
It's up to the client. So with the tips page, they could give 10% off. They could give 15% off. They could also, to tie it back to my book audience, they could say, you know what, it's really critical this quarter that we drive mobile downloads. So the tips page could say, download our app, subscribe to our email newsletter, engage with us on Facebook, retweet this. It's any number of activities that they would want to maximize that engagement at point of purchase or physical location. So you think about beacons, they're tied to a physical location, but they could also be at an event like this. You could have it in a booth. You could have it at an outdoor event. And really what it's doing is interacting with that unique identifier in the mobile device that's tied to advertising. It's also interacting with an app network that we're building so that these third-party apps listen for our beacon. And then that's what creates the moment for interaction. So you don't have to have that retailer's app in order to engage. So it creates new opportunities for consumer engagement beyond just your loyalists.
Very interesting. And what you're doing, though, you're really enhancing productivity tremendously with regard to smaller businesses or franchisors that have a number of franchise locations. With what you're doing, because the fact that you're feeding the APIs out to all these other platforms, and it really helps tremendously.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of that had been done by hand, right, through hand submission. And in fact, today, to this day, Google still requires manual submission from anybody. They don't take APIs.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we continue to try and work on partnership, and we always explore that, but we have a manual process, so we'll do that piece manually. But when you look at all of the other players, and it's really interesting to note how that smartphone device and the app kind of ecosystem is fragmenting and creating new competition for Google, because a lot of what we would consider search isn't really putting a term into a box. It's pulling up a map. It's pulling up a reference that's in an app that doesn't ever touch Google. It's touching some third party. So the ability to do that at scale across 100 publishers worldwide is becoming increasingly important, because the volume of people who go to Google to enter that search is changing. That behavior, that we would call search, is actually much more fluid. You could be doing a search if you're clicking on a button on your phone. You just don't even know it. You're just trying to find the information that's relevant to you in that moment, in that location.
So these Google competitors must love you for what you're doing.
Well, they appreciate the fact that we are working with the businesses to provide current information quickly. And case in point, Hurricane Sandy hits Manhattan and New York, right? We have banking clients who use us that had ATMs that literally were underwater and were shut down for weeks. Now, in a traditional environment, how do you tell Google, how do you tell Bing, how do you tell Yahoo that for mapping? How do you tell Apple Maps? You don't really have a mechanism to do that at scale, or even in a way that they will accept it, because even if you submit it, it doesn't mean they have to use it. So our clients used our Power Listings product to basically push that information so that anytime somebody would be stumbling into that, searching for it, finding it on a map, they'd see that's closed, and they'd have a redirect information for another ATM that was available, and in many instances fee-free because of the customer service angle. So it changes listings from being something that's flat, static, not controlled, and often duplicative or wrong, into something that's now more of a dynamic part of your marketing. It's correct, you control it, and you eliminate duplication, which eliminates consumer frustration. We've all experienced that thing where we've put in an address and we're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And the consumer automatically ascribes that problem to the brand. They might not articulate it, but it's like, and that is anger at the brand, not necessarily at the search engine or the map. And so we're trying to correct for that, to eliminate that frustration and create location as more of a core asset of the marketing organization, because in a mobile world, again, is there anything more important and more fundamental than location? The answer is no.
You're raising an issue I had never ever considered before.
Right.
Though. I mean, it's so the type of customer you would sell this to, like large retail chains, bank chains, people with multiple stores who are responsible for representing themselves digitally with multiple locations. And then you're taking it a step further with this whole engagement. Is it engagement through? It's loyalty, coupons. It's remarketing.
It's mobile engagement through
okay.
Beacon technology at point of purchase. And one of the reasons that attracted me to the company is it's not just enterprise; it's all the way down to SMB.
Yeah.
So we have we have a very large partner channel, and they usually go after the locations that are the companies that have, say, 1 to 25 locations. Our SMB channel, just a single business person, when they launch their company, do you want to wait to be indexed, or do you want to control that right away, get out there so that you can be found immediately? And so what we're trying to do is constantly think about what are the ways we can help businesses of all sizes, of all industries, harness the power of location better to benefit their bottom line, to bring more people into the store, to create more points of interaction. And I'm really excited with the new products that we have coming out, at the end of September, October, to see that come to fruition.
So, for instance, if you're a business and they subscribe to your service and enter all the data, what penetration rate or percentage do you think they have with regard to the footprint within the local communities and that, as far as the search index and that?
Well, the 800-pound gorilla is Google, right?
Correct.
So that one they need to retain us for the manual piece.
Right.
But with the other one, think about the major mapping services, right? Apple Maps, partner.
Correct.
Yahoo, partner. Bing, partner. Foursquare, location, partner. Yelp, if you're an advertiser in Yelp, and it's up to their thresholds. There's certain thresholds, and you can then be leveraging that and putting it into their API. And then you've got super pages and all of the yellow pages, and up in Canada, yp.com, and we've got a global network. We're working with the largest players around the world and continue to try and grow that. So, our objective is to give 100% coverage, right? There always will probably be little players and new entrants there, but especially as apps look to leverage location in new ways. And then also as businesses look to leverage location in new ways. So if you think about social advertising, the interesting thing with social advertising is Facebook is this amazing wealth of demographic, psychographic, and other information like location. So now you can think of that location manager that we have, our location management platform, almost as your location database of record. And now you can push that out to, say, Facebook, to create a custom audience around locations that you have and target just those people within a geographic region. So location there becomes a factor that defines your advertising and how far you want to push that advertising. And personally, I've been brainstorming even more applications for us outside of just traditional marketing, because you think of location across the enterprise. It'll be interesting to see if we get there, but the opportunities, as you said, it's not something you think about. You just think about, it's like part of the operating system, right? It should just be there. And yet when you peel back and you look at the data, you're like, you're blown away about how much of it is incorrect. And it's because all of these players have been trying to use third-party data in a way to kind of support location, and there are inherent flaws in that. So we're hoping, for our clients who use our system, that we can, help them eliminate that, and then think about how to use location now that they've got this great, accurate database in new ways to fuel their business.
So the flip my funnel approach, the account-based marketing piece. I mean, I imagine this, like you said, because I would imagine there's multiple people in a company who you'd have to sell this proposition to. Because it sounds very technical, so it kind of sits with marketing, kind of sits with technology, kind of sits with chief information officer. I mean, am I right? Is that a...
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. It's one of the challenges our sales folks have is unlike, say, something like email marketing. You know who the email marketer is. You
Yeah.
know who owns website for content management. Location is something that can float in a number of
Yes.
places. The search engine folks have owned it from a submission standpoint because that has gone to the search engines like Google, Yahoo, et cetera. Then you have the mobile people who need it because they have to be feeding location information into their app.
Yeah.
Then you have the technology folks who own location from the standpoint of a database that legal, real estate, customer service, everybody else needs. So it can be a complex sale.
Yeah.
And so the attraction for account-based marketing, especially for a brand such as ours that is well known in certain pockets, but outside in the broader marketing realm, we need to create greater awareness.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
We need to target on an account-based level. We then create greater awareness among a number of folks and then start building relationships, and we need to have multiple relationships because if we're dependent on just one of those and that's not the decision maker, right, then you're set back in that decision-making process.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out who are those decision makers and continue to
Who are
build
those
those relationships.
influencers, yeah.
And the key word there is relationships. I have a very simple formula for marketing. I am
Love
not
it.
a
Give me
mathematician
a
at
simple
all.
formula.
And
Good to hear that.
it is simply that a relationship greater than symbol, one sale, right? I am in the business of building relationships because we don't want to sell one thing to customers. We want to constantly be innovating. In our founders, we have got folks who are they are serial entrepreneurs who have had multiple successful products and companies. We've even spun off an app that's its own standalone company because it wasn't core to the location piece,
Right.
and it's very successful.
Right.
So you look at that and you realize this isn't about just a single sale. We want to create relationships and constantly be solving problems and creating solutions
Great.
for our customers.
It sounds phenomenal. I could delve in even deeper. I want to know more, but we're running out of time, and this has been a fantastic conversation. Let me just ask you one question.
Sure.
So if I had to take something away from you, some tech marketing tool that you just couldn't live without, what would that be?
Well,
What's critical to you?
Well, my most critical thing is my smartphone. So
Okay.
I'm in a unique situation in that I live in right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and Yext is based in New York, right in the heart of Manhattan, Madison Square Park, and because of that, being on the road all the time, my most valuable app is usually my phone or text messaging or FaceTime so that I can connect with my family. I'm a firm.
Nice to hear a family comment. actually.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer as I get older and have more experience in my marketing career that you really need to kind of have this holistic approach. And my family's been so wonderful over the years. I traveled a lot, did a lot of international speaking over the last few years, and I've really traded that more for the commute from Cleveland to New York. And so just making a point and setting the schedule so I can talk to my son who's entering high school, or my daughter in 5th grade, or my wife who right now is managing a kitchen remodeling project without me, and I think likes that because she can make choices
I'm sure she
and
likes
doesn't have
that.
me arguing about paint colors and things. But I think that's a critical piece of it. That
love
holistic
that.
piece is
Well,
critical.
I
Thank you
tell you,
for
it's been a
sharing.
real pleasure.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
look
thank you.
forward to
Yeah.
talking with you again.
Anytime.
And
Yeah.
thank you, and enjoy the rest of the
And
conference
good luck
here
for the
today.
company, and it
Yes,
sounds
absolutely.
phenomenal. So,
Thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it.